Coach, obviously playing a road game against a top 10 team, always tough. How much of the result today was could be attributed to 4 games, including 3 on the road over the last 8 days, and just overall fatigue for your team?
No doubt the schedule is pretty difficult. But at the end of the day, nobody cares. You have to go out there and you have to compete. And as soon as you step on the court, you've got to go out there and give it everything you got and give everything you can to go win these basketball games. Credit to Houston. Houston's a top 10 basketball team. They've had a great basketball team, a great culture, and they did what they needed to do to get the job done today.
Next question, Sam Blum.
Yaphett, I'm curious. It looked like after Kendrick exited for the final time, you stopped him, gave him a hug. It looked like maybe you said something to him. What's kind of your message to him there, and what do you kind of see from him in general?
Hey Sam, my message to Kendrick is just keep fighting and keep plugging along. There's no time to dwell on this loss, and I wanted to get our guys snapped back as quickly as possible because we play Tulsa on Wednesday, and Tulsa's not going to really care about the result of today. They're not going to care about our fatigue. They're going to go out there and try to kick our butt. And so I just wanted to get his mind focused quickly as possible while he was out. Wanted him to stay incredibly positive with his teammates. They've done a really good job so far during this stretch. And so the big deal for us was just locking in and just keeping them positive and just keeping them focused so we can go ahead and be prepared to play Tulsa on Wednesday.
Next question, back to Steve Lansdale.
Your guards shot 5 of 28 today. Was it just one of those days where shots weren't falling that I guess everybody has once in a while? Or did Houston throw any exotic looks or do anything unusual on the defensive end to pressure your guards?
Yeah, I would just say I think it's one of those days. Emmanuel Bandamayo's been shooting the ball great all year long. Tyson's had some really good games, and a few of our other guys have too. I think it's one of those days. I know those guys are resilient workers. They'll be in the gym ready to work. Probably some of them will probably be back in the gym tonight, but I would imagine in the next couple of 48 hours, those guys will all get their groove back and snap back and be ready to knock some shots out against Tulsa.
Next question, Damon Sales.
Yeah, King, just from a coach's aspect, just watching it, from your eyes and your levels, what exactly is it that Houston does so well, just from a defensive standpoint? It almost seems like it's a Novocaine type effect. Just give it time and it just kind of goes into play. What is it that they do from that defensive stance that just frustrates not just SMU but teams in general?
One of the biggest things they do is they really, and it's not really a defensive thing, if their offense is off, they've got a culture where they absolutely crash the glass. They send a couple of guys to the boards, as you can see, going tonight at 17 rebounds, 14 of them defensive, 3 of them offensive, which I'm proud of our guys because last game we played them, I think he had 11 offensive rebounds, so they did a really good job in that department. That was an area that we can really hang our hat on and build from there. But they've got a great culture of defending, playing hard, competing, and high level of accountability. And I think you saw that on display tonight. We weren't at our best, and it made it a little bit easier for them too.
Next question, Kevin Reynolds.
I know you just mentioned Emmanuel, but I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about kind of his recent struggles and what you've seen from him, and also your message to him going forward and over the next week.
Well, we've got the utmost confidence in Emmanuel. He's shown that he can be a really big-time basketball player, as we saw at Memphis and last year at Houston. He had the game-winning 3 there. He's shown time and time again that he's a capable player and he's capable of doing it. My message to him would be, we've got all the faith and confidence in him moving forward, and we're going to trust him. We're going to roll with him. He's our guy.
Next question, Dick Humphrey.
Yeah, Coach, in the first half particularly, we saw a lot of Vandamel running the point. Was that an effort to try to get Kendrick into some shooting situations and get better looks?
Yeah, Kendrick's such a dynamic basketball player, and teams gear their whole game plan toward Kendrick. As we saw against Memphis, they literally put 2 guys on him at all times. Houston did it, but they did it differently. They used their big when we set the pick and roll, and the pick and roll is a really staple of an offense. And they used 2 guys on Kendrick at all times. Whenever he's coming off the ball screen, seeing one in the front of him, guarding him on ball, another guy gapped up, and another guy to the right. So we wanted to move him around to kind of give them a little bit different look so you don't know exactly where he's attacking from. That was the game plan tonight for that.
Next question, back to Sam Blum.
Yeah, I know you mentioned some of those rebounds. In the first half, obviously, you guys did out-rebound them, but in the second, I think it was 28-11. They just kind of dominated there. I know you mentioned maybe some of that long week. Where do you kind of see the rebounding effort in the second half? And then just the second part of a question, I'm curious if you have any update on how Tim's doing.
Well, I think the second portion, the first portion of your question, the rebounding advantage that they did out there in the first half, we did a really good job. In order to beat a team like this, that's the number 16 in the country, it's got to be a full 40-minute effort locked in. And you got to get a couple balls to roll your way. I thought in the first half we played incredibly hard. We boxed out. We kept them off the glass. A couple unlucky rolls. I think there was one that rolled and ended up squaring out, and somebody gets a three-pointer, another one gets a layup. And so from that perspective right there, we did battle with them, but in the second half, they just kept coming, and we didn't match that intensity, which I wish we would have, because I think we could have hung in there, and I think a few shots would have eventually fallen if we would have got a little bit more confidence from that area. Second portion of it is he's been battling. He's in there, and he's just following the rules that the American Conference and SMU's laid out, and he'll return when our doctors say he's okay.
Next question, Damon.
With the one game that looks like it's going to be postponed, I guess, against South Florida, you guys have one game for the upcoming week. What do you take from this game as you prepare for Tulsa, and how important is it to play well against Tulsa, knowing that you only have one game for this upcoming week?
Yeah, it's incredibly important just during this stretch, because we don't know what's going to happen because of COVID. You've got to constantly be ready. And there could be games that spring up on you. There could be games that can be canceled. So the best portion of it is we've got to get here, and on the way back home, the staff and I, along with the rest of the guys, we'll get together and we'll talk about Tulsa to kind of get our team best prepared. We'll meet all day tomorrow to get them prepared. It's super important. It's imperative to be able to go in and bounce back from losing today, and to be able to come back on Wednesday with a W.
All right, last question for Coach King to Steve Lands.
Coach, you mentioned that your players are hardworking, resilient guys. You said you wouldn't be surprised if some of them were even in the gym getting up some shots tonight. With the amount of games that you've had in the last 8 days, is there any inclination to maybe tell your guys to just get off their feet and not overwork as they try to get back ready for Wednesday?
Yeah, I definitely think this is the time frame where you got to work smarter and not harder. But at the same time, you have to do what makes you feel comfortable, that helps you, whatever you think it is that gets you back in the rhythm. And I would say it doesn't have to be longevity, but if some guys want to go, I wouldn't discourage them. Whatever makes them feel comfortable to kind of get them back in the groove of things, I wouldn't discourage it. But you're right, though. You have to work smart. You have to work smarter, not harder, because the attrition of the long season can get the best of you. If it were me personally, I'd go get some rest. I'd lay out, get off my feet, take my shoes off, and get an early night's rest to get myself mentally and physically prepared for Tuesday and Wednesday.
And we will open up first question to.
Yeah, hey Feron, I'm just curious. That first half, you guys were able to out-rebound them, but then in the second one, it was really lopsided in their favor. Was it the end of kind of a long week playing 4 games, or how would you kind of assess the way that second half unfolded?
I think we just didn't hit shots, those things are like momentum changes. And looking at we held their best rebounder to 3 offensive rebounds, so I didn't think that. He usually has a lot of offensive rebounds. We had him with 3 offensive rebounds, so I think we did a good job on him. We didn't come up with a lot of 50-50 balls, so I think that kind of was the game changer. They got a lot of 50-50 balls.
Next question, Steve Lansdale.
Yeah, Feron, you mentioned their best rebounder, Gorham, and obviously he'd still got, I think it was 17, but your coach was talking about how you held him to only 3 offensive rebounds this time. Did you guys take a different approach with him to try to keep him off the offensive boards?
He was an emphasis point. I don't think we took a different approach. I think we just, blocked him out of this game and tried to limit his offensive rebounds, because that's where they get a lot of their points from. They don't score a lot on the first shot. They get their points off the second shot, which basically means like they shoot a shot they miss and then they get the offensive rebound and they score. So we did a good job on it this week. I mean, in today's game.
Next question, Damon Sales.
Feron, a game like this, you have to ask the question, how are you guys feeling from a fatigue perspective, and how important is it for this week just to kind of rest up, get off your feet? You guys don't have that February 6th game against South Florida anymore. You only have one game this week. How important is it to just rest up, get a chance to recuperate?
I think it's going to be very important for us to get treatment, today, tomorrow. Prepare for Tulsa. That's another good team. They beat Houston this year, so there's going to be another tough game for us on the road. And with school getting back, it's just an adjustment for a lot of us. Just starting to get back into the school acumen and just getting ready. So I think we're going to take care of our bodies today and tomorrow, and then try and figure out the game plan for Tulsa.
Next question, back to Sam Blum.
Yeah, Feron, I'm sorry, if it's possible, can you speak more into the microphone? It's just tough to hear. The other thing I was going to ask is just about Kendrick Davis. He's, obviously had a rough couple games, and looked like, Coach King maybe spoke to him, as after he came out. What's kind of the message to him, and, how you guys definitely need him offensively?
All right. Let me see something. 1 second. He had Katie's been playing in he's our best. He's one of our best scorers and best players. I don't think him having 3 bad games. It's not his fault at all. Every player goes. I don't think every player can even play a good game every game. Michael Jordan didn't do it, so I don't expect him to do it. And he'll bounce back. He'll start hitting shots, going for the 20 balls and 19 points and his assists. He does a great job. A lot of teams are keying in on him because he's one of the best scorers in the league. So he'll bounce back. I'm not too worried about Kendrick and his scoring. He's a really good offensive player. He'll get out of it. I think this is like a basketball something that everybody goes through who plays basketball.
Next question, Steve Lansdale.
Yeah, Feron, you're playing catch up in the second half, and obviously it's always a physical game when you get together with Houston. But I think at one point they called 16 or 17 fouls in 9 minutes or something like that. How much does that do to just disrupting your rhythm as you're trying to put some points up and put together a run?
It messes up a lot. I don't even really know how to answer your question. Ask it to me one more time. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that if you're playing catch up, obviously you've got to put together some runs, and it's always physical with Houston. But there was a stretch there in the middle of the second half where it seemed like the whistles were blowing every few seconds. And I was wondering what that does to you and your teammates as you try to get some rhythm and put together a run and close that gap.
I think it just slows the game down because, we're really good in transition. And I feel like, that kind of hurt us both ends for both of the teams. But it just kind of messed up what we wanted to do as far as, we like to speed the game up and play very fast. And I think, we're very capable of doing that, on any given night. And that would just, the foul calls are not in our control. That's, something that we can't control. That's more of a ref thing and their judgment. So that's something that we couldn't control tonight. And, that's in their hands. So we can only do what we can only control what we can control.